Rumi once said, "The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep." He wasn't speaking of the hour before sunrise. He was speaking of those rare moments in life when the heart stirs and the soul is on the edge of remembering its true home. Most people miss these moments because they return to the sleep of routine, the comfort of forgetting. But his call is clear. Stay awake to the whisper of the divine. In Rumi's words, "Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion." These are not just comforting phrases. They are the dismantling of a lifelong illusion. You are not a fragile speck drifting through an uncaring cosmos. You are the cosmos given form, given breath, given the chance to witness itself. The poet of love declared, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." He does not offer shallow comfort. He names suffering for what it truly is, the alchemy that transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. The wound is not an enemy. It is the doorway through which the light enters. In this hour, you will hear his voice as it was meant to be heard, not as lifeless ink on a page, but as a living flame. Rumi spoke across centuries, but his words are for you here now. And if you let them reach you, by the end of this hour, you will not return to the world the same. The heart is a wanderer. It beats in your chest, but it belongs to no single place. It seeks a home it has never seen, and yet remembers. It is pulled forward by an invisible thread, a longing that words cannot capture. This longing is older than your body, older than your name, older even than the world you see. Rumi knew this longing well. Before the world knew him as a poet of the soul, he was a man of learning, a scholar admired for his knowledge. But no book, no debate, no ritual could quiet the ache in his heart. That ache became a fire when he met Shams of Tabrez, a meeting that cracked open the shell of his life and revealed a truth he could no longer ignore. The longing was not for a human figure, but for the beloved itself, the eternal presence that exists before and beyond all forms. Rumi once said, "The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was." Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They're in each other all along. We spend our lives believing that love is something to be found, something out there, waiting for us in another face or another place. But Rumi's words turned that belief inside out. The love we seek is already within us, hidden under layers of fear, distraction, and forgetfulness. We are not empty beings looking for completion. We are complete beings learning to see what has always been. In another verse, Rumi tells us, "What you seek is seeking you." This is not just comfort for the lonely heart. It is the truth about reality. Your longing is not a desperate cry into an indifferent universe. It is an echo of the universe's longing for you. The path between you and the beloved is not one-sided. It is a meeting in motion. Every step you take toward the divine is mirrored by a step the divine takes toward you. This means your restlessness is not a sign of distance, but of closeness, proof that the two of you are already moving toward each other. Rumi reminds us, try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the changing seasons passing over your fields. The heart is not constant. Some days it burns with the fire of devotion, and other days it is cold and still. Both states are holy. Just as the earth cannot be all summer or all winter, the soul cannot remain in one season. Your restlessness is a season too, one that plows the soil of your heart so it can receive the seeds of love. In one of his most haunting images, Rumi writes, "We are all the same. All the souls yearn for the same notes, the same music, the same dance. We are all searching for the song we once heard before we were born. That song is not carried by any instrument we know. It is the vibration of unity, the sound of being before division, before separation, before the soul was placed into flesh. Every longing in your life for beauty, for truth, for love, is an echo of that forgotten music. You think you desire a person, a place, a dream, but beneath them all, you are really yearning for that original song. The poet of love urges us, don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. The restless heart will not always feel light. There will be times when the longing feels like loss, when the ache becomes too heavy to carry. But Rumi tells us that this pain is not here to destroy you. It is here to open you. The wound is the crack where the light of the beloved pours in. Without it, he would never break enough to let that light through. Rumi also says, be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. If you wish to follow the call of the restless heart, you must be willing to release what no longer serves you. Let go of relationships that keep you from truth, beliefs that keep you small, fears that keep you silent. The journey of the heart cannot be taken if your hands are full of what you should have left behind. To travel far, you must travel light. In another place, he writes, be like a melting snow. Wash yourself of yourself. The heart cannot reach its destination while dragging the ego behind it. To find the beloved, you must dissolve not into nothingness, but into everything. This is the paradox Rumi understood. The more you let go of who you think you are, the restlessness is not random. Rumi said, there is a candle in your heart, ready to be kindled. There is a void in your soul, ready to be filled. You feel it, don't you? This is the heart's secret. It carries both the wound and the cure, the emptiness and the flame. You were made to feel this longing because without it, you would forget to search. The discomfort is a compass. It keeps you moving toward the place where the void will be filled. Sometimes the journey will feel endless. There will be days when the horizon seems to pull away faster than you can walk. In those moments, hear his call. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. These are not just words of welcome. They are words of recognition. Rumi sees you as you are, tired, uncertain, yet still walking. That alone is enough to belong to the caravan. And still, he warns us not to confuse longing with despair. Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, for each turn of the season brings you closer to home. Restlessness is not the absence of peace. It is the movement toward it. It is proof that you have not given up, that some deep part of you still believes there is something worth finding. Even when you think you have lost your way, the cord between you and the beloved remains unbroken. That is why Rumi could say, try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the changing seasons passing over your fields. No matter how far you travel or how weary you become, your heart still knows the way home. The longing will lead you. The beloved will meet you. The search will end where it began, inside you. We carry many masks, names, titles, beliefs, and histories we wear as if they were our faces. The world tells us these masks are who we are, but the heart knows they are only costumes. Rumi understood this. He knew that the self we defend so fiercely is not the self that will survive the fire of truth. He once said, try to accept the changing seasons of your heart. But he also went deeper, telling us to dissolve into the very thing we love. Rumi wrote, try to accept the changing, meant to transform, and with each transformation, pieces of the false self fall away. The ego resists this, clinging to familiar shapes. But the beloved has no interest in preserving what is false. The process of awakening is a process of loss, the loss of everything that is not real. He tells us, be like a melting snow. Wash yourself of yourself. This is the heart of the matter. The self we think we are, the one defined by our appearance, our possessions, our achievements, is a temporary shell. To find the beloved, we must let it dissolve. Melting snow does not argue with the sun. It surrenders and becomes part of the flowing river. In the same way, we must surrender our rigid identities to become part of the greater whole. In another verse, Rumi says, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, not because change is comfortable, but because it is necessary." Every shift in your heart's weather is a stripping away of illusions. We may think we want stability, but in truth, we are here to be transformed. The illusion of self is like a wall, and love is the hammer that cracks it open. He warns us against holding on too tightly. Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart means accepting the death of old versions of yourself. The self that loved what was false must die, so that the self that loves truth can live. This is why he could say, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, because without death, there is no rebirth." Rumi once told us, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." The death of the false self is painful. We grieve our illusions because we have worn them for so long that they feel like skin. But that grief is part of the medicine. The cure is not avoiding the pain, but walking through it until the mask falls away and the true face is revealed. In one of his most direct teachings, he says, "Be ground. Be crumbled so wild flowers will come up where you are. You've been stony for too many years. Try something different. Surrender." To dissolve the illusion of self is to allow life to break you open. Stones cannot bloom, but soil can. You cannot flower while clinging to hardness. The breaking is not destruction. It is the making of fertile ground for the soul's growth. The poet of love also reminds us, don't get too comfortable with who you are at any given time. You may miss the opportunity to become who you are meant to be. The false self loves comfort, routine, predictability, control. But the real self is born in the unknown, where there are no guarantees. To step into the unknown is to admit that you are more than the roles you've been playing. Rumi says, "Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop." The illusion of self clings to dead leaves, old identities, outdated beliefs, stale relationships. But holding on to them will only keep you from growing. The tree does not mourn its leaves. It lets them fall so that new ones can grow in their place. In the same way, you must be willing to shed what no longer serves your becoming. In another place, he writes, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, because in doing so, you stop resisting the inevitable." The false self fears change, but the real self thrives in it. Every ending is an opening, every loss a clearing, every death a doorway. Rumi offers us a vision of freedom. Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, to live without clinging to an identity that will one day vanish. You are not the name you were given, not the body you inhabit, not the story you tell about yourself. These things will change, fade, and fall away. What remains is the witness, the silent, eternal awareness behind the mask. And so, dissolving the illusion of self is not destruction. It is liberation. The false self lives in fear because it knows it is temporary. The real self lives in love because it knows it cannot die. As Rumi said, try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, because the moment you stop resisting, you begin to remember who you truly are. Love, to Rumi, is not the soft, tame affection we often imagine. It is not mere sentiment or comfort. It is a force that burns away everything that is not real, a fire that consumes illusions and leaves only truth behind. He did not speak of love as a pastime or a decoration to life, but as the very engine of transformation. Rumi once said, "Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames." This is not a polite suggestion. It is a command to live in such a way that every part of you that is false is burned away, and every part of you that is true blazes with the light of the beloved. And if you are to seek companions, they shall be those who ignite your courage, not those who feed your fear. In another verse, he declares, "Be like a melting snow, wash yourself of yourself." Fire and melting may seem like opposites, but they are both agents of transformation. Melting snow becomes living water. Fire turns wood into light and heat. Both destroy the old form so that something new can emerge. This is what love does. It reshapes the soul into something more fluid, more alive, more ready to flow into the heart of the divine. The poet of love tells us, "In the house of lovers, the music never stops. The walls are made of songs, and the floor dances." Here he is not speaking of romantic couples or fleeting passion. He is speaking of those who have stepped into the fire willingly, who have allowed love to become the structure of their being. For such souls, love is not an emotion that comes and goes. It is the air they breathe, the ground they stand on, the music that moves through their every step. Rumi warns us that love is not safe. He says, "Try to accept thee. To love is to be transformed, and transformation requires change. The heart that loves will not remain the same. It will be broken open again and again, but each breaking allows it to hold more light, more truth, more of the beloved." He also wrote, "1,000 half-loves must be forsaken to take one whole heart home." This is perhaps one of his most challenging truths. Most of us settle for half-loves, relationships, dreams, beliefs that give us comfort, but not Rumi calls us to leave them behind, to risk the fire for the sake of the whole heart, for the fire will not accept fragments. It will burn away everything that is partial until only the complete remains. In another place, Rumi says, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. Love as fire will sometimes hurt. It will strip you of your defenses. It will take away the roles and titles you hide behind. But that pain is part of the purifying process. Just as gold must pass through fire to be refined, the soul must pass through love to become what it truly is. The pain is not the end, it is the refining flame." Rumi once offered this vision: "Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. Love's fire will not burn what is real. It will only consume what is dead, what is no longer alive in you. The leaves that fall are the beliefs, fears, and habits that keep you from fully embracing the truth. To resist their falling is to resist the fire, but to let them drop is to allow the light to reach you." And still, he tells us, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, because even love's fire has its cycles. There are seasons when the flame roars and seasons when it is only a glowing ember. Both are necessary. The roaring flame transforms you quickly. The ember sustains the warmth and keeps the connection alive. Do not confuse the quiet of the ember with the absence of love." The poet also reminds us, "Be like a moth drawn to the flame." This is not an image of destruction, but of union. The moth does not fear the fire because, in some deep way, it knows the fire is where it belongs. To the moth, entering the flame is not death, it is returning home. So too with the soul. The fire of love is not your end, it is your beginning. In one of his most powerful invitations, Rumi says, "Come out of the circle of time and into the circle of love. Time is where the false self lives, measuring, counting, fearing endings. Love lives outside of time. It burns away the clock, the calendar, the illusion that life is a straight line. In the circle of love, everything is present now. You are not moving toward the beloved. You are already within the beloved's fire. Love, as Rumi knew it, is dangerous, consuming, uncompromising. It will take everything from you. everything that is not truly you. And when the fire has done its work, what remains will be the pure gold of your soul. That is why he could say, "Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames, because in the end, there is no other work worth doing, no other life worth living." There is a point on the journey where the longing ends, not because it is satisfied in the way the mind expects, but because the seeker dissolves into what it has been seeking. This is the place of union with the beloved, the heart's final homecoming. Rumi lived his life pointing to this state where there is no I and no you, only the vast presence in which all things exist. He once wrote, "I am not this hair. I am not this skin. I am the soul that lives within." This is the identity of one who has found union, stripped of every outer label, defined only by the light at the center. In another verse, he says, "I looked for God. I went to a temple and I didn't find him there. I went to a church and I didn't find him there. I went to a mosque and I didn't find him there. I looked in my heart and there he was." Here he is not rejecting sacred places. He is revealing that the holiest sanctuary is the human heart itself. Union is not reached by traveling to a location, but by uncovering the presence already within you. The poet of love tells us, "The way the soul is with the soul is the same as the lover with the beloved." This is his way of saying that the relationship between you and the divine is not like any other relationship. It is not a meeting of two separate things. It is a recognition of what has always been one. The lover does not become the beloved. The lover realizes they were never separate. Rumi also writes, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, for union is not a static state. Even in the embrace of the beloved, there is movement, ebb and flow, moments of closeness and moments of seeming distance. But in union, these fluctuations do not cause fear because the bond is unbreakable. The tide may rise and fall, but the ocean remains." He offers us an image. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about ideas, language, even the phrase "each other" doesn't make any sense. This is the silence of union, a state where words fail because there is nothing left to describe. The self has merged with the infinite, and all boundaries have dissolved. In another verse, Rumi says, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, for even union must be renewed each moment. It is not a possession to keep, but a presence to live in. The illusion of ownership falls away. You cannot hold the beloved." He tells us, "I once had 1,000 desires, but in my one desire to know you, all else melted away." This is the natural result of union. The countless smaller wants that once pulled the heart in every direction are burned away, leaving only the desire to remain in the beloved's presence. And in that desire, even the sense of wanting fades, replaced by the simple joy of being. Rumi describes it again in these words, "In your light, I learn how to love. In your beauty, how to make poems. You dance inside my chest where no one sees you. But sometimes I do, and that sight becomes this art." Union is not passive. It moves through the soul, shaping its words, its actions, its very way of being. The lover becomes a mirror, reflecting the beloved's beauty back into the world. In one of his most intimate lines, he says, "The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you." But in union, the search ends because the seeker has vanished into the sought. This is not the end of life. It is the beginning of real life, lived not from fear or need, but from fullness. Union with the beloved is not a distant goal. Rumi insists it is here now. Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, because each season, even the coldest, brings you closer to seeing that you have never been apart. The beloved is the breath in your lungs, the beat in your chest, the light in your eyes. You are already inside what you seek, and so the journey that began in restlessness finds its home in stillness. Not the stillness of inactivity, but the stillness of completion. As Rumi said, the way the soul is with the soul is the same as the lover with the beloved. The two are not side by side. They are one flame, one light, one life without division. After the fire of love and the embrace of union, something unexpected happens. The need for words begins to dissolve. In the presence of the beloved, speech feels heavy, and even the most beautiful poetry begins to fall short. What remains is silence, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence that is so full it spills over without sound. Rumi understood this better than anyone. He said, "Silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation." These are not idle words. They are a reminder that every poem, every prayer, every thought about God is a translation, and something is always lost in translation. The truth itself speaks in silence, and only in silence can it be heard. In another place, Rumi tells us there is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. This voice is not heard by the ears, but by the heart. It speaks not in sentences, but in presence. It is there when you sit quietly under the night sky and feel something vast pressing gently against your soul. It is there when you look into the eyes of someone you love and realize that no words could possibly carry what passes between you. The poet of love says, "When you are with everyone but me, you're with no one. When you are with no one but me, you're with everyone." This is the paradox of silence. When you withdraw from the noise of the world to be alone with the beloved, you do not lose connection. You gain it. You begin to feel the thread that links you to every living thing. In silence, separation disappears. Rumi also wrote, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, because life is a constant turning, a wheel that never stops spinning." He tells us, "Sit, be still, and listen, because you're drunk and we're at the edge of the roof." The drunkenness he speaks of is the intoxication of distraction, the endless chatter of thought, the constant hunger for stimulation. At the edge of the roof, one wrong step, and we fall. In one of his most striking images, Rumi says, "In the silence of love, you will find the spark of creation." This is not metaphor alone. He means that silence is fertile. It is the soil from which love, insight, and beauty grow. Without it, we live in a desert of noise where nothing lasting can take roots. The poet reminds us again, "Don't your pain will become your cure." Silence is often uncomfortable because it brings us face to face with our pain. Without noise to hide in, we begin to hear the wounds we have been avoiding. But this is why silence is healing, because it forces us to meet ourselves honestly. The meeting is painful, but it is also the beginning of cure. Rumi says, "Let silence take you to the core of life." The core is not found in constant movement, in constant speaking, in constant seeking. It is found when all of that stops. When you drop below the surface into the still center, this is where the illusion of self finally falls away. Not in a burst of drama, but in a quiet, almost unnoticed dissolving. In another verse, he whispers, "Close your lips and be silent. Give up anger. Give up desire. Give up speech." This is not about withdrawal from the world, but about withdrawing from the mind's endless commentary. When you become quiet inside, you can still move, still speak, still live, but everything you do carries the weight of presence. Rumi's path was not one of endless speaking. His most profound moments came in the pauses between words, in the spaces where the music of the Naylut faded into nothing and yet somehow became louder. This is why he could say, "Silence is the language of God." All else is poor translation. It is not a rejection of words, but an honoring of what words can never reach. In the end, silence is not emptiness. It is the sound of the beloved breathing through all things. It is the pulse of creation itself. And when you learn to sit in it without fear, you begin to hear the only voice that has ever mattered, the one that has been speaking to you all along. Silence is the still point, but from that stillness movement is born, not the frantic movement of the restless mind, but the graceful turning of the soul in harmony with the infinite. For Rumi, the dance was not entertainment. It was prayer, meditation, and union all at once. He and his followers turned in circles, not to lose themselves in dizziness, but to lose themselves in God. He said, "We come spinning out of nothingness, scattering stars like dust." He said, "We come spinning out of dust." In those few words, he gives us the truth of the dance. It begins in nothingness, in the emptiness of ego, and from that emptiness, creation itself pours out. In another place, Rumi declares, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart, because life is a constant turning, a wheel that never stops spinning." The whirling dervish embodies this truth physically, turning around an unmoving center, just as the planets turn around the sun and the soul turns around the light of the beloved. He offers this image: "I want to sing like the birds sing, not worrying about who hears or what they think." The dance is not performance, it is freedom. It is the body becoming the song it hears in the depths of silence. The dancer does not move for applause. The dancer moves because the music of the infinite has taken over their limbs. The poet of love tells us, "Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop." In the dance, everything unnecessary is released: fear, pride, self-consciousness. The turning strips away the outer layers until only the core remains, the still center that moves with the beloved in perfect rhythm. Rumi writes, "Try to accept the changing seasons of your heart." And in the dance, those seasons pass in minutes. Joy, grief, longing, peace. They rise and fall with each turn, and none are held on to. The dance teaches impermanence. You cannot grasp a single step because the next one is already here. In another verse, he says, "We rarely hear the inward music, but we're all dancing to it nevertheless." This is perhaps the most mysterious truth. Even those who have never stepped into the circle, who have never heard the Naylut, are still moving to the music of the divine. Every breath, every heartbeat, every thought is part of the dance. The only difference is whether we move unconsciously or in surrender to the rhythm. He reminds us, don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day, your pain will become your cure. The dance is not always ecstatic. Sometimes it is heavy, weighted with grief. But in turning, the grief becomes movement, and the movement becomes offering the pain that would have crushed you, becomes the step that brings you closer to the beloved. In another image, Rumi says, when the soul first put on the body, it began to spin. That spinning is the longing to go back. The dance is the soul remembering its origin, retracing its steps back to the place it came from. The turning body is a compass needle, always pointing to the center, to the stillness at the heart of all movement. The poet tells us, we come spinning out of nothingness, scattering stars like dust. And in those words is the truth of creation. All life emerges from stillness and returns to stillness. But in between, there is the beautiful spiral of existence. To dance with the infinite is to say yes to that spiral, to move with it instead of resisting it. Rumi's dance is the dance of surrender. The right hand is raised toward heaven, receiving the light. The left hand is lowered toward the earth, giving the light away. The dancer becomes a bridge between worlds, a vessel for the infinite to flow through. In this way, The dance is not about the dancer at all. It is about the one who moves them. As Rumi says, don't get too comfortable with who you are at any given time. You may miss the opportunity to become who you are meant to be. The dance is transformation in motion. With each turn, you are no longer who you were. And in the center of the circle where the beloved stands, you are finally who you have always been. There comes a moment when the music fades, the turning slows, and the stillness of silence returns. But now the silence feels different. You are not the same as when you began. The longing that once felt like an ache now feels like a pulse. The fire that once burned painfully now glows steadily in your chest. The beloved is no longer something you seek. The beloved is the ground you walk on, the breath you take, the light that falls across your faith. Rumi said, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." And here at the threshold between the inner world and the outer, you see the truth of that. The wound that drove you inward is the very opening through which the light now pours outward. In another place tells us, be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. On the journey inward, you dropped so many leaves, false identities, stale beliefs, fears disguised as truths. Now as you return, you do not try to gather them again. You walk lighter, freer, carrying only what is alive. The poet of love once wrote, "When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy." This is how you live now, not from habit, not from fear, but from the soul. The river that once seemed hidden now flows in every word, every step, every glance. You begin to see that this joy is not something you have to protect. It is something you have to share. Rumi reminds us, try to accept the changing seasons of your heart. Even as you have passing over your fields, you know that this state of clarity will not always feel the same. There will be days when the light is dimmer, when the fire feels smaller, when the music is hard to hear. But now you understand these are just seasons. They will pass, and the root of what you have found will remain untouched. In another verse, he says, be a lamp or a lifeboat or a ladder. Help someone's soul heal. The journey inward was never meant to be selfish. You did not walk into the silence and the fire only for yourself. You carry this light so that you can illuminate the path for others. Your transformation is not complete until it becomes an offering. Rumi tells us, don't get too comfortable with who you are at any given time. You may miss the opportunity to become who you are meant to be. Returning to the world does not mean returning to the same roles, routines, and limitations. It means allowing yourself to continue changing, to keep letting go, to keep stepping into deeper truth. The world will try to pull you back into its old patterns, but the fire you carry will make those patterns feel too small, too tight. In another place, he says, be like a melting snow. Wash yourself of yourself. Even as you re-enter the world, you continue to melt. The dissolution is not over. Every conversation, every act of love, every moment of silence is another way of releasing the false and living from the true. The poet offers this blessing. Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. You have already dropped so much, but the process will go on. Every day will ask you to release something else, a judgment, a fear, an expectation. And each time you let go, you will feel lighter, closer to the beloved who walks with you now. When you move through the marketplace, when you sit with family, when you walk through the streets, you will see that nothing outside has changed, and yet everything has. Rumi said, try to accept the changing seasons of your heart. And now you see that the real transformation is not in the world's seasons, but in your own. The same streets carry new light. The same faces hold deeper beauty. The same moments feel infinite. Returning to the world transformed means carrying the silence into the noise, the dance into the stillness, the fire into the cold. You are not leaving the beloved behind. You are bringing the beloved with you because you have seen the truth. You and the beloved are not two. And that is the secret. You will now live breath by breath, step by step, until the end of your days. And now we stand at the final moment of this hour. Yet nothing is ending. The journey inward is infinite. The voice of the beloved unending. What you have heard here are not my words, nor even RUMI'S alone. They are the echo of the same truth that has been calling you your whole life. Rumi said, "Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. Remember this as you step back into the world. You are not a fragment wandering in darkness. You are the whole cosmos walking in human form." He tells us, one day your pain will become your cure. Whatever wounds you carry out of this hour, carry them gently. They are not proof of your weakness, but proof of your depth. They are the openings through which the light will keep pouring. And so I leave you with RUMI'S final gift. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. If you truly take this into your heart, you will never again see yourself as small. The beloved is not outside you. You are already home. Go now, carrying this fire, this silence, this dance, and this union into every step you take. Let your life itself become the poem Rumi began, and you now continue. The hour is ending. The journey has just begun.